Good morning and welcome to Olam News, June 1st, 2020. It's been an interesting 3 months, 4 months when you count in other things that happen in the world. We've had our COVID-19 and now the riots that have been going on in the world seem to be an intensification of God's communication. We need to listen. God is speaking. Let's listen carefully before he has to speak louder. We are sitting here trying to figure out how to calm down the situation. And we might think that the message is it cannot calm down. But the truth of the matter is that God expects of us small actions. And the small action that I suggest to bring peace, more peace to the situation, is one of more introspection. The ethics of our fathers, passed down for thousands of years, teaches us do not try to appease somebody while they are angry, because the appeasement will not be accepted. And not only will the appeasement not be accepted when they are angry, but the appeasement will actually cause the flames of anger to escalate, to heighten the levels of anger. So do not appease somebody at their time of anger. Listen carefully. The message is being directed towards the police force. And we must look beyond what we see as apparent communication, violent, non-violent communication, hopefully non-violent. We need to look at it as a communication from God, because God is speaking and he's getting louder, and hopefully he won't need to get louder for us to listen after this. Small actions can start with one regulation, which I suggest. And that regulation will be a flag statement that we are trying to show that we want to treat every member of the human race with equality, with the feeling of a sense of fairness. And that one suggestion that I propose, which I hope gets into the right ears, is that we need to regulate physical contact. And physical contact means putting your hands on somebody. We all communicate, as I said in my live stream earlier today, with emotion, hand movements, and unique ways. And these unique ways are sometimes very misunderstood by others who are listening. Nevertheless, we have an amendment of the Constitution which says freedom of speech. Communicate in the way that you know, in the way that you were brought up, in your unique language with your hands, behind your uniqueness, symbolized by your one-of-a-kind fingerprint. And we need to respect and listen carefully. Proper modes of communication can be discussed at a different time. How to communicate properly, how to communicate effectively, how to communicate and listen at the same time. Communicating with anger does not allow a person to listen. And the best form of communication is without anger, with an exchange of communication back and forth, where both parties are listening. But that's for a different discussion. The regulation I want to propose is to the Police Force of America. And the regulation is that unless there is a suspicion of somebody reaching for a weapon, people should be allowed to communicate. And we must adhere to the laws and only be able to physically contact others, to immobilize them if there is physical contact. If somebody who's white or yellow or brown or red or purple or blue or black will touch an officer, at that point immobilization, according to the law, should be appropriate. Immobilization cannot be with physical contact, as we have two recent incidents where physical contact have been utilized to immobilize a civilian, and it has led to fatalities, whether they were purposeful or not purposeful fatalities is a whole different discussion and needs to be addressed specifically. We must enable people to overcome their tendencies. And those tendencies are murder, stealing, adultery, other types of immoral behaviors. And when people overcome them, we need to recognize and show respect and appreciation for people overcoming their tendencies, and not come down on every individual in a general way. In a general fashion, we need to, on both sides of the coin, be appreciative of others and how they overcome their evil inclination. We need to pray for each other, that we should all be able to overcome our evil inclinations. Now, those evil inclinations sometimes need regulation. And the regulation I'm proposing is that only if a police officer is touched can immobilization be enacted. And that immobilization cannot be by physical contact. It must be in a way that cannot lead to another fatality, like, for example, a tase, or in another way that the experts are aware of. But physical contact, which could lead to fatality, is beyond the scope of practice, should be beyond the scope of practice, within a normal interaction between the police force and civilians, where they are not reaching into their pockets, which may look like a weapon. That's a whole different scope of gray area that needs to be worked out. But this regulation will particularly be focused on immobilizing those that touch a police officer. And that touch is crossing the line. It needs to be black and white. You can speak, you can express yourself, but you cannot touch a police officer. And if you do touch a police officer, then the immobilization will be legally acceptable through a form of immobilization that will not lead to death, like a tase or other form of immobilization that the experts are aware of. That is my proposal, and it should be a swift enactment of the proposal, and acceptance of the imperfect system should be admitted, and the future can unfold before us into a peaceful society. Hopefully we can get back on track. I wish everyone to be safe, and I wish everyone a peaceful existence. And we should be able to look at each other and say, we understand what we're supposed to do now. There should be training for the police officers immediately to enact this regulation, and the gray areas need to be spelled out and reviewed and reviewed and reviewed until ethically acceptable. I wish you all a wonderful day. And remember what the ethics of our fathers say. Do not appease somebody when they're angry, because they will not listen. They will not accept the appeasement. The appeasement will only inflame the anger and cause more problems. Let's put the regulation in place and create peace on earth together. Thank you for listening to Olam News, And I wish everyone a wonderful day of growth. All the best from Olam News. Bye for now.